Guest here with us tonight as well. Item number 4 is discussion of the continuance of cooperative support with Fiscal Court, City of Lebanon, and Tourism regarding the feasibility study of the multi-purpose facility. As you all are aware of, a couple of years ago, or maybe not quite that long ago, we had talked about this and put a RFP out for bid to bid on this building, and we got several bids in that I thought were reasonable, but we couldn't get the support to push this thing on through. Some things have changed since then. We're getting some tourism is considering to help us out. City of Lebanon still discussing helping us out, and like your support as well. The location of the facility has also changed. Economic Development has donated 8 acres of property off the bypass between Limestone Branch and the existing hotel, and which is a little easier access location than the previous site was. Not that it was a bad site, but I think this would be a lot more visible, a lot more user-friendly to people from out of town to be able to find and use. I do support this myself. I think it's something that the community needs. Like I say, I've lived here basically my whole life, and to go to events you have to travel out of town, and I feel like that with 31 industries in our community now, it's time for us to either do it or not. We've talked about this for, I know, probably 15, 20 years. I don't know. I know ever since I've been in, and with the partnership with the other partners, I think it's something that we could make work, and I'd like for the mayor to just say what he's got to say about it, and welcome you to the meeting.
Over the years, the city and the county, individually and together, have taken on a lot of projects. And when we get ready to take on those projects, I'm always nervous, I'm fearful, I question everything we're doing. And at the end of the day, through partnerships and working together, I don't know of anything that we have failed to do that we've set our mind to with regard to projects and initiatives and economic development. To me, it is pretty evident that the city of Lebanon in particular is at an apex of growth and development with regard to retail. The distances, if you had 2 circles around the city of Lebanon, one near and one far, you would have Bardstown, Danville, Greensburg, Columbia, Camelsville, and particularly Danville, Bardstown, and Camelsville have things to offer that we don't. And I think we're at a timeline where the investment that would be needed in a bowling alley, a cinema, is prohibited. As one of our business leaders here in town said, if they were going to build a cinema, it would have to be the best, greatest thing in the state in order to draw people here. Otherwise, they're going to go to Bardstown, Danville, Columbia. If you want to buy a suit or new clothes or whatever, we do not think about driving to Lexington or Louisville at the drop of a hat. So for entrepreneurs to come in and spend millions of dollars in developing our retail, not impossible, but I don't think I'll see that in my lifetime. I intend to live a lot. And so over the years, leadership in the community, Marion County and Lebanon, have thought of ways to develop retail, and not been very successful at some of those things. But one thing we did learn is that you have to have something unique that no other community in our area has. And one of those things that stands out is a facility that is multi-purpose and that can be used for large groups. And we feel, talking about judgment, I think I can speak for you on that issue, Mr. Lyon, and tourism, that if we don't seize this opportunity at this point in time, that over the next few years, these other communities will realize what they're missing and taking advantage of, and not taking advantage of. We feel like that here in Marion County, the very center of Kentucky, we have an opportunity to draw from population bases that are within the Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, Owensboro area. There is not another facility that is conducive to having car shows, athletic competitions, gymnastic competitions, animal shows and pet shows and those type of competitions, athletic events and concerts in our area. And with the initiative of economic development to donate $500,000 worth of land, we feel like that based upon the bidding prospectus that we have, that we can build this facility for $5 million. It's a lot of money. Nobody will argue with it. It's a lot of money for a small community. But I don't know what your budget is. I haven't looked at it. I kind of mind my own business when it comes to that. I've got enough problems dealing with my budget. But I know the city of Lebanon has resources to come up with $150,000 over a period of years to advance towards building a facility of this type. The Tourism Commission has felt likewise at a cost of $100,000, which is a significantly higher proportion of their budget than certainly the city of Canton. We have been dealing with this issue for over several years because there's a large number of people that feel it's a good idea, but we just haven't been able to put it together. And I think we're at that point in time in the leadership of this community and the vision of this community that we can do it. Because if we don't build it here, one of these other communities will figure it out and build it. And we, of all places, are more uniquely located because of where we are in this area. We have talked to several people, particularly in the athletic competition events, that there's nowhere else in central Kentucky that they can have a competition, for instance, gymnastics, because people will not drive from eastern Kentucky to Bowling Green and Bowling Green to Louisville because they can't pay for the facility usage, because in those areas it's quite expensive. We have long, I say long, over the last few years, have realized the need for another hotel in our community. One of the reasons, the main reason that we don't have one is because we have a hotel doing good business, and this is from the ownership of that hotel group. And by the way, they are not opposed to another hotel company. They recognize competition is good. But we're about right here on being able to get another hotel. And there is nothing that we have done so far that will help us get up to this level where we can get that other hotel. And the synergy of all of that working together, I believe, will make this project work. As I started out, it's nerve-wracking, it's scary. But that is what vision to take advantage of opportunity when nobody else does leads to success. I believe that this group, Fiscal Court, the City Council, and Tourism can come up with a mechanism to oversee this facility, because that's one of the questions. Who's going to operate it? Who's going to maintain it? What's the out cost? And some of those things we don't know. But we're at a point where that we can't go forward because the financial people we talk to, the people who are familiar with these type of projects, the first thing they ask, do you have community support? Because if you do not have that, it's still possible. In other words, if the city wanted to do it, it's possible, but it won't happen. I can tell you that. And another thing that makes this project very doable is I believe that we have great relationships among fiscal court and city council and tourism. You don't hear us squabble. You don't hear us fight. We're congenial to one another in public. There are times we have our disagreements and we make those known. But so for my part, and I do have some experience after being this city's mayor for 20 years. I have made a lot of mistakes. I hope I've learned from them. And I still have energy and desire to see this community grow. And I think that this will help not only this community, but I think it will help Marion County as well. So thank you, and I'll be prepared to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor.
Anybody got any questions for the mayor?
Do we know on the bids and things that we did receive, and I know we're not fully at that point, with steel prices, I know we've gone up, things, are our bids still pretty much in line?
Yeah, steel has gone up 30%, but some of that raise in cost is being absorbed within that bid because the bid came in between $4.5 and $5 million. I can't tell you exactly what it was, but we feel pretty sure we can build it for $5 million. And as I told the council the other night, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that'll be the end cost, because as we move along and we find out we need a need for some type of matted flooring in there for gym competitions, we'll have to find a way to come up with that. I think we can. I think we have 31 industries in this community that will support this.
I think so too.
You know, and I'll abashedly give them kudos. TG Kentucky gave us $20,000 for playground equipment this year. Joy Manufacturing has given us thousands of dollars for like things. I think we have to have the courage to move forward. I think we have to have the courage to ask those people for help in keeping our community a place that people want to come to. I don't know that we'll resolve the retail issue in my lifetime, but I know that if we can do this project and make it successful, that we will have twice the number of people that live in Marion County coming through this community every 2 or 3 months. And that's got to mean something. So,
I feel like, well, I feel like industry would really utilize this building as well, myself. I think it would, it would give them a place to have different events and things they have, because right now, Center Square is which is a nice facility, but it's really our biggest place to have anything. So.
And Mr. Bishop, I want to address that because I've sensed among some people who are supporters of Center Square and the theater that's up there a little bit of trepidation, not over the building or not over building a facility. They're a little trepidation about the competition. And we see this as a symbiotic relationship, where that if we had a gymnastics competition here during the day, those people, and folks, these things happen. They happen all over the state. If you want to know, talk to somebody who's I know Walter Calhoun the other night when we were talking to tourism. She's taken her daughter everywhere for different competitions, and there's just nowhere in Central Kentucky to do that. But Center Square has a limited use. and it does very, very well. We have wonderful plays up there. It is meeting the reason for its existence. Ms. Humphreys is doing a wonderful job up there, but we're not going to have a play out of this facility for 300 people. This facility is designed for multiple day activities and for large events. A car show. It'll be big enough for a huge car show. And so we were talking to a lady that participates in dog shows. And look, I'm not very creative. This is all stuff I've heard because I'm not going to a dog show. But there's hundreds and hundreds of people in central Kentucky that go to those every weekend and spend 2 or 3 days. I don't get it, but I do get going to horse shows. So
Let me ask you a question. I think David, the information you handed us out, I think you had some kind of budgetary figures in regards to the facility and then also in regards to the revenue, potential revenue generation and so forth. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the annual estimate was around 220,000, something like that. Okay. So, which would be about $18,000 per month, okay? Which seems like a very large figure, okay? But I think that in regards to the feasibility study, didn't we do a feasibility study a few years ago?
there's been several feasibility studies, but not one on this particular issue, I think, commented or.
We've done, actually done two, one we paid about 50,000.
Well, and that's my question. I mean, if this wheel is rolled before, then why do we reinvent the wheel and do another one? I mean, couldn't we go back and look at maybe the information that we had from that? But the other thing is too, is I think, you guys tell me, but I think we have to look at hard numbers before we really move forward. And I think the information that you provided, which was the estimated building cost and then the potential amount that the court would provide, the potential revenue and so on and so forth. I think those are things that before we move forward on a feasibility study that, as opposed to wasting time or, you're either in or out, okay, on an issue like this. So I think that we need to understand the numbers that we're looking at and what we're willing to do, before. And the other thing, like I said, I knew that that feasibility study cost $30,000, $40,000, whatever. So I'm sitting there wondering, well, why would we do it again? Could we get that study and take a look at that? I mean, I know that was a bigger facility, I think, but at the same time, right, but the general information in regards to the draw and so forth, revenue potential and so forth, general information would be very similar, so.
What we did is we analyzed a number of other facilities across the country that had a similar size and what they were.
Similar population as well?
Smaller city, smaller. That's what we did in this time. And we were very conservative because in the first 2 years, we don't think this is going to make any money. Subsidize.
Well, and see, I think that's what we need to look at, because I think the mayor,
That's what we try to do with this stuff.
the mayor's correct in his statement that, we are going to have to step up down the road somewhere if we do this, and there is going to have to be additional funds, because you not only look at it from, say, the $150,000 that the county would give, per se, that the county would give, that $150,000 comes off, but also on the other side, what will it really cost, okay? And then I would like to also, when you see numbers like $220,000 revenue on an annual basis projected, I really didn't see anything broke down that justified or explained where that revenue would come or projected. I mean, I'd like to make $2 million this year, but, it's not going to happen, so.
Those figures you had a while ago, were they the projected revenue or the?
Yeah, and I don't have it with me, but, and David, you can tell, I think the projected revenue was like 220-some thousand, and the expenses were, I think the first year was going to be in the arrears a little bit, 20,000, something like that.
27, I think.
27,000.
27 might have been the number.
Right, so when I look at those numbers, which our responsibility is obviously the expenditure of the tax dollar, but when I look at those numbers, my question is that, which is fine, but how did those numbers
and to get them.
Yeah, you give me a lump sum, but how did we derive those numbers? So I think that if we could get a breakdown of, you can say we're gonna bring in 220,000, but how are we gonna do it? That's 4,000 a week.
Well, you
So-
can pick a study apart, but I don't think, are we here asking them to commit money?
No, oh, we're not committing money today, I don't think. I can tell you that.
Just to go ahead with the study. I
Well-
think that was the mayor.
As I said earlier.
Well, what's the study gonna cost?
We're at a point where when we go and talk to people, we need to know whether there is a consensus to move ahead by leadership in this community. There will be multiple places where any of the three organizations can say no. We have to bid this project again. We have to get more information. There's a lot of footwork. But I, for one, personally don't want to do any more, because twice before, we have talked about this, we have studied it, we have talked about it with people from outside the community. We had an exciting meeting up here in Fiscal Court one afternoon where people from the community came in and were excited about it. And so, I did not ask the council to write a check for $150,000 or to commit to that.
Right. So how much do you have a projection on what the feasibility
What I
study will be?
asked the city council was, do you support the concept? You understand what we're telling you the dollars are. They may be up or down a little bit, but that's the best information we have now. And to move forward from where we've been in the past, we need the acceptance of the concept, what we're doing to move forward.
And I agree. I think I can understand the concept. But my question is that, again, it's just me, but I understand the concept, but when you tell me $220,000 projected revenue, where do you come up with it? That's all I ask, because how can I really say I'm for it until I can really?
We explained that what we did here was to base.
So where did you just pull that number out of the hat?
And that's what every consultant does. You hire a consultant.
That's what I'm saying.
They're gonna base it on what other communities are doing in like situations. I
So
think
basically,
what we
that's what
have to
you
do is
based your
decide
number on.
Whether or not we
Okay,
want to grow the
that answers
community
Okay.
or we want to stay.
Is your question is what's the feasibility study gonna cost? Is that what you're
Well,
asking?
I think, Mayor, that just answered the question. What you based the 220,000 on, correct if I'm wrong, was what you pulled from other communities, correct? Is that what you said?
Well, and another thing too is that in coming up with those numbers, we have followed the pattern of those people who we've paid $50,000 to do a study, and we've done a rough study, and I think it's fairly accurate, but I'm not going to guarantee it. But I think,
Yeah.
Listen, as far as my part, I speak for one person, one chair. I'd like to see us move forward, and initially, when this thing started years ago, I was pretty much against it. That's been several years ago. I'd like to see us move forward with it. Like you said, there's places to opt out along the way, that I'd like to see us go forward, at least to that point.
There is one more thing that this building will be built in a matter of existing industry buildings that we build every day in our community. Whereas if it doesn't work, we have a way out. And that out being would be another spec building. It's going to be built exactly like the building out on the bypass right now. It's just going to have a more decorative front. So there is, it's a commitment, but in reality, if it doesn't work, then it's not a wash. We've tried, and if it doesn't work, we didn't succeed, but it doesn't mean we can't regain some of what we've invested in it. It's not gone. So, and we have people call every month, every day, looking for a place to locate industry. So, I mean, I don't feel like it would be something that would be difficult to get rid of. It's going to be built in a manner that could be used in industry as well.
In order to grow a community, you have to have something unique. I think the mayor explained very well. We got something unique. I know when we started in 1992, when we started trying to attract industry in the area, we had to find something unique. We had to be something different than these other communities. Well, we figured out that we were outside Toyota Motor Manufacturing's workforce drawing area. We were more than 60 miles from the Georgetown plant, and they did not want their suppliers to locate in their workforce drawing area. So we were outside that drawing area, and that's the market we try to attract. I don't know if it's ironic, but it sure was timely that we had a call from a motel group today. Said that they had read and heard what was going on out here, and that they were looking at building a convention center, and they had an interest in motel unit here. So
As far as rebidding with different builders, that part's really not going to cost us anything to check and rebid. As far as the rest of the feasibility study, I mean, what are we looking at? I mean, I'm with Steve, and again, I'm one person speaking. I would like to see this. I would like to see this happen. But again, it has to make sense, and nobody wants to throw money away. We don't want to keep wasting money on feasibility studies. But I think if we can figure out the most economical way to do that is what we need to do, and just maybe recheck our bids first. Have them rebid this and make sure we're just not way out of the ballpark.
One of the things in the past that caused us to have a stumbling block was that, by and large, most of the bidders look at what we're talking about, a $5 million building, and that is with the Senior Citizen Center finished out, that is with the office section finished out, and that is with the bathrooms finished out. And those bathrooms are finished with counters that are impervious to water, that they're built for heavy use. So it's not just a shell. You need to understand it. But a building such as this that goes through if this building was built in Lexington or Louisville, it'd be $15 to $22 million. Because engineering and architects get 30%. I know on City Hall they got $350,000 on a $5 million project. On this type of project, we can get it built with an engineering and architect, one-time fee.
Is that due to prevailing wage?
What's that?
Is that due to prevailing wage, the difference in
No, it's
prevailing wage?
because the contractor has the architect or engineer. On this particular project that went in the bid, the contractor had their own architect and engineer, and they pay them one set fee. That's unheard of in the construction industry on a project this big. But there's another facility being built in this community, and the bid is let out, and there were the architect and engineer specified low as a judge $150,000 worth of lights.
Yeah.
$150,000 worth of lights, and they're being stored here in our community. If those same lights those lights had been spec'd by an engineer, they're the #1 grade, #1 name, and they cost $150,000. But if the contractor had the privilege, which in this case they didn't, of buying the lights that were exactly equal to that, it cost us $35,000. That's why when we say $5 million, it's a lot of money. But that's another thing that makes us unique, because I don't believe that they had vendors in Campbellsville, Danville, and Bardstown that can build it the way we can get it built. And that's not one bidder. We had two bidders come in under $500,000. I think it was under $1.5 million, one maybe below. So
what are we looking at? Are we looking here to vote on doing a feasibility study? Is that what we're here for today?
Just getting support for the idea, mainly?
And look, I know I represent the city, but on this issue, the judge and I and tourism are all together, and economic development are all together on this. So I'm just one person out of it. But what I'm asking for individually is that magistrates find it worthy. Knowing the information we've given you already, we've told you how much we think it's going to cost. We've told you how much we think we're going to all have to put up. Is that you vote to move ahead with the project. And with that understanding that if we bid it and you don't want to accept any of the bids, that stops it. Or we get to talking about the organization of it and we can't agree on the structure of who supervises this facility and operates it, that stops it. And you can take a vote any day of the week, say, no, we don't want to be a participant. Let me tell you, that stops. If the city, we vote to say, well, yeah, we were for it 2 weeks ago, but it's after the election and we're not for it now. That stops it. We, the four of us, once again, we have something unique that we can do, and the way we can go about it is unique. That we have these four community bodies coming together to build something that will be here after most of us have retired from office and left. And I am scared and I'm nervous about it. I have the same concerns you do. But I'm willing to move forward. The city council's willing to move forward. Tourism willing to move forward. And economic development's willing to move forward.
On before, the one thing, before when we looked at all this, I know, had several meetings. Tourism, they backed out for whatever reason, and then was economic development, were they in on that, or they were just supporting it? They weren't in on it, so it's, instead of 2 partners, it's going to be 4 this time.
And I'll be right up front with you. The last time we went about doing this, I assumed that tourism was on board.
They were at first, or not money-wise,
The
but
previous time, there was a commitment by tourism, or a talk about them committing $2 million. And so when the judge took the leadership of the issue a couple of years ago, I just assumed that was still the case. My fault. It wasn't the case. Nobody had talked to them about it. Nobody had explained it to them. I made a mistake in judgment thinking that they were on board. So this time around, we decided that we would go to tourism first, because what is the first question? The first or second question the council will ask is tourism on board, or is fiscal court on board? The first or second question you always ask is tourism on board and the city on board. So we went to tourism first. We had a city council meeting that night, coincidentally. I recognized that I had to talk to the city council about it because it would be in the newspaper next week and on the news. So we talked about it that night. The judge had time to give you those packets that you have now, and take a week to look at it, have your questions, to be prepared for this discussion. And so you have 3 of the 4 groups that it takes to make this project a success on board. The city council has the same concerns you do, but they know that they can have a majority and stop it at any point.
So let me ask you this, bottom line is, and I apologize, I'm from Burke Springs, so I'm a little slow, okay? But, if it's not gonna cost us anything, then move forward. I guess the question is, we don't need a motion, or we don't need anything in regards to that to move forward if it's not gonna cost anything. The only time that we need a motion and we need approval is when it's brought to us that we're gonna do an actual feasibility study, and it's gonna be 25,000, it's gonna be 50, whatever, and we're expending dollars. So until we know what that figure is, until we know that, then, hell, let's have at it.
Well, I'm asking, as mayor of the city, that y'all show your support for the project by voting to move forward.
I'll make a motion to move forward with it,
But we're making a motion to move forward to look at it,
to look at it.
not
Without
spend.
any expenditures at this time.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Mr. Bishop,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
Yes.
Mr. Etter,
Absolutely.
Mr. Webb, Mr. Wicker. Yes. Unanimous.
Got one last comment. When this thing initially come up, I did not like the location, all right? I rode back through there, and it sounded like a good fit where we was talking. I rode back through, and I thought, if this thing is ever going to do anything, people's got to be able to get in and out of it. And I looked at all the utilities and all the stuff that had to be changed, the road, and it kind of killed my interest. Out here is a much better location. And as far as people in Marion County, and I know we got to draw more than just Marion County, it's more of a Marion County location instead of a City of Lebanon location, okay?
Well, and I think a facility like this, my hope over time is that most of the people that come to it will be from out of Marion County.
We'll have to have that.
And Steve, I'm like you, I would love to see, I'm still on board, I still want to see a facility out of the fairground. And we didn't talk about that, maybe the later days we can talk about that, but I'd love to see a facility out there designed strictly for agriculture. And it's very cool, and it would be very worthwhile, and I think it would be very feasible. That's for another day.
Down first, all right?
Yeah.
I agree with him. This location for what you're talking about is a lot better fit for what you're trying to do.
I know Betty Bradshaw's with the Fair Board. She's here with us tonight, and I talked to her prior to the meeting. We've got campsites out there that they're doing really good now. And she was concerned possibly of this being a draw from her. I told her I think it's just like Center Square. I think it gives them somewhere else to be able to stay, and I think it'll be a boost to the fairgrounds. I really do, because they're considering adding on out there. It's really turned out good, and we're getting a lot of people using it. So again, that's another opportunity for the county to get something out of it as well. So thank you for coming, Betty. I appreciate you being here. And Mayor, thank you for coming. Tom, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Does anybody else have anything?
The idea is good, just need a few more figures and like the operation and maintenance of it's the main thing. That's a lot of money, but you build it and you're done. The upkeep and what happens after that is the big, you
Well,
can,
the cost of $5 million is
When you build it, you're not
cost is
done.
always an
No,
issue.
you're not
When you
done.
build it, it's kind of like
Only
buying a car for your kid.
Yeah.
You buy the car, you're not done.
no.
Okay, so,
The reoccurring costs are most of the time more than what you actually spend.
yeah.
All of these questions are extremely legitimate, and as we've gone through this discussion, somebody's brought up these concerns. A facility like this, we have the resources and manpower between the city and county, and probably particularly the city, keep them mowing, the outside grounds kept up. We have the ability to do that. I'm not worried about this at all. Keeping cleaning on the inside, that is an issue. We have labor ready available.
Inmate labor if we need it, exactly.
And that's another thing that makes this unique. We have interesting ways to make some of this other stuff happen. that doesn't actually have a great outlay.
That's good.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You Daniel Boone?
Tom, you got us on overtime now. You got us on overtime now.
Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is consider approval of appointment of Marie Wright as the candidate to fill the seat on the Gravel Switch Fire Department Community Committee.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
He's talking.
Yes. It's a double yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bishop, yes, unanimous.